Yeah, you're inside of, yeah, you're inside of Pristine Ubuntu now, the Ubuntu version. And then it should give you this thing where it says, are you sure you want to continue connecting, and type out the word yes. And then it'll ask for the password, which will be BC user. And then you're in, okay? So now you can access both the server and your VC Ubuntu from the same place. Do you see how that works? And now, just to be clear, there's no difference in power between having the server like this and having Ubuntu. It's the same thing. And in fact, much of the internet runs on Ubuntu servers like this.
So does it not matter where you're connecting from? I saw you connecting to cloud nodes, but.
Yeah, no, didn't matter which directory, yeah. Sterling. Wait, I'm getting stereo. I think Sterling was first in there, Brenda, sorry.
Are we like remotely connected to our server then?
Are we what?
Remotely connected to our server?
That's correct. And using SSH like this, the way I am right now, that server could be running it could be in the cloud anywhere. It could be in India, it could be in Europe, and you can connect to it, and all of your command prompts work. I'm sorry, Brenda, what did you want? What were you interested in?
Yeah, we're putting it onto the Ubuntu, right? This is our address.
Yeah, you look like
right?
you're logged in, yeah.
That whole thing, France, right?
Yes.
No.
Well, no.
So 1270001.
Type over here, type IF. It's about the second or third line, it says INET address colon. Yeah, no, how about all one word, IF. Do the open one. Non-off, yeah.
INET address.
10, 11, 46.
What I wanted to hear. Thank you.
But
I was just wondering if you had
168,
168, or something.
Yeah.
And we're putting it on the
Yes, so
I
think,
mean, this.
yes, correct.
Okay, now.
2 to 16 available. Address. 16 bits.
No idea what this is.
One
I
address.
don't think it is copy it,
One
one
address.
six
server,
zero dot one
broadcast.
five six dot 47.
Our locally hosted.
I'll let you work
I'm
on
never
that.
gonna use that.
And it,
Probably not.
It sounds probably.
when you're at home, it will, your IP address, if you install this on your home machine or on a laptop, well, on your home network, if you run it, the IP address will probably always stay the same or stay the same for long periods of time. Your DNS server will assign it the same number. Here, maybe not right during finals week, it might stay the same for several days in a row at least. But the more people signing onto the network, sometimes they'll reuse an address if it's not, I think they'll take a stab at giving it to you again. But if you were logged off and someone else came along and needed that IP address, then it'll go away, and so you'll have to do this process again. There are workarounds for that in certain situations. And there's actually workarounds for that inside a VirtualBox, but I kind of like it that you have to play around a little bit with IP addresses and think about them. So it's not ideal, but it would do it. And then from there, you can type Mongo, and then you're in the database. You're at the front end of the database. And if you're in the no auth one, you'll get this warning, access control is not enabled for the database. And so there is no, access control for it. Which means that when you sign into it, you won't have to have a username and password, which is kind of nice.
I have access denied from Google, so
You have a what?
I have access denied.
And why are we doing an XPS sign?
What is that?
Oh, the XPS sign in admin, you know, the entering the username and password, is that if we're not using that's if we're using the XFS?
No, well, there's two different issues. There's logging into the server, which you definitely have to do and have to have a username and password for.
Okay.
But then logging into the database in the no auth one, there's no authorization. You can just log into the database without, and you'll have full permissions. And that's the sort of thing you shouldn't do in a public place. So those of you who install it on your laptops, don't run the database, don't run that server like at Starbucks. It's very unlikely, and nobody can do anything with it, but that's what hackers look for, is they look for machines that have a copy of MongoDB running on it and unprotected. And they grab it because they want to try to use it to send, to start spamming people. So run the one that's authorized if you're gonna be in a public place. Here, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. You'd have trouble here inside the school. It's possible, but, okay. So, we can just leave that kind of running, and then let's go back to the database, to our application, and then let's talk about logging in more in general, and then we'll see if we can learn to log into both servers. And everything will work, right? It's there, so you can pull down your repository on this server and run programs on this server and do all kinds of cool things on the server. Let me, before we get into the technical thing, let me describe what I'm thinking about for the final. So you'll know where we're headed for the final. And if some of you panic when you start to see the final, don't panic, okay? Do the amount that you think you can do, and then I'll see, right? I know you all now, and I know what your capabilities are, and I'm totally unfair, right? Some of you I'll expect to pretty much complete the final, and some of you I'll say, amazing, that something worked. And so there'll be some flexibility there in terms of what we actually do. But I don't think anything really will come as a surprise in what's set up for the final. It's just, let's have 2 copies open now. So I'm kind of expecting to see Congress address, Congress server, and then this Congress native thing that we did Tuesday, where we got something running on the Expo on the phone, or we may come up with another solution where, if that can't work for you. And all I'll expect in that app, if you can simply get it to connect to your database and show me 2 fields from any record, then I'm happy.
When you
Yeah, the
say,
native one.
when you say
Yeah.
show 2 fields, do you mean as in a screenshot from MLab, or when you click get the middle button, get all records or something like that?
We'll figure out a way so that I can probably, you'll check in your native, and then I can run it from on my machine. And if I'm able to bring it up, install it on my phone, click a button or do something and have it actually show 2 records.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were talking about native.
Yeah, the native.
Okay.
Just show 1 record but 2 fields. So if you got first name and last name, so all I'm really asking is that the app exists and then it can talk to the database.
And native is supposed to talk to MLab?
I think so. I think they should all talk to MLab, but you might find some of you, like if you don't have good connectivity at home, or if you want to play with the server, then you have the server, you have another database running. And some of you were asking, I want to have a copy of the Mongo client that really works. You've got it there on the server. So it's giving you it's a full copy of the database. It's not meant to be a lot of work for you, just simply a tool for you to add to your capabilities. It's all the only reason I gave you those servers today.
So the Congress native is what we actually call Exploit Asher last name? Is that-
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and maybe rename it to Congress native.
Okay.
And just have it, and then just have it connect to the database at all and show like 2 fields from 1 record. You don't have to iterate through the fields, you don't have to do anything special with them.
Okay.
Just show that you were able to do it.
Okay.
And then I'll be convinced then that you would at least be able to get started building a native application for yourself. You'd have enough to at least, if you can show 2 fields, then little by little you could probably figure out. We'll probably go through at least responding to 1 button click, although it's not hard. And then we'll see what happens. Okay. And then, so then I want Congress server, now we're off the native topic now. Congress server will be running on port 30025. I don't know which port it is, but just do it. And accessing data from the cloud. And Congress address should be able to talk to your server. To the Congress server, correct. And Congress native should be able to talk to Congress server too, in order to get data. I don't think there's any other way. Maybe there is, but. And then, database features. Everybody should be able to get their address list into the database, which was our #1 goal for today. And then you should be able to display data from the database in Congress address and iterate over it. And then when you disconnect, it should all get stored in local storage and still work. And there shouldn't be any difference between loading it from the database or loading it from the JSON file in terms of what you do in your program. It's the same thing. You're getting exactly the same data back, or pretty much exactly the same data back. And you do that. Then you should be able to refresh data from the database, right? So if, for instance, we emptied everything out of local storage, there should be a button that I can press and it would pull it again down from the database. And
It's in Congress Act.
in Congress address. And you should be able to update records in local storage and delete a record maybe in local storage. That's maybe a little bit of an ask, in the basic things, that's maybe one that we may or may not cover. There has to be something that I can see between those who can figure something out on their own and those who have to be shown. So maybe that would be one feature I won't show you how to do, and I'll ask you to do it. Then for extra credit, have that thing go back to the database so that when you refresh, it would pull new data. And then extra credit again, delete a record from the database, right? And if I pulled it, it's gone, right? We'll talk about that. I know we haven't done that yet.
You have to use the ID.
have to do. Yes, correct, yeah, you have to do it by ID. But you may have more tools than you think available for you. I think my delete record, if I haven't given you the right one, I will by Monday give you the one that all you need to do is pass the ID to it. And the delete, it'll know how to do it. So Congress Address and Congress Server, okay, so platforms. I'm expecting to be able to run Congress Address and Congress Server. You know, I should be able, we had that concurrently that allowed me to start them both at the same, us to start them both at the same time. So when I pull from your repository, I should be able to, in your Congress Address folder, I should be able to issue a command, and I'll try to detail exactly what I want on that, so that it'll start both the server and the client running on my Linux box when I'm testing it. And this is a key part of the program, right? Because that's what we've been working on the most throughout the quarter. And so that's the one I want to see the most, is that I can go in there and start your server, start your client, and that we'd be able to talk to them. And then at that point, it can go out to MLab and get the data. So the data will come from MLab in that case. So then, we also want this thing running on a Roku. Maybe I'll split it up and say anything running on a Roku that looks vaguely like our program I'll take. But ideally, you should be able to do the build command inside of Congress Address, and then take your build and paste it onto the top of your Congress server in the public directory, and push it up to a Roku, and it should just work, so that you have everything running. I'll show you how that works. I think we've been over it a little bit. I'll show you more of it. And it would be talking to MLab. And then again, this has something that talks to MLab on Congress Native. It's what we just, the first thing we covered. Okay? And then you would turn it in your repository, either in your master branch or in a branch called final, or in both. Add, commit, push, branch and or tag, and then push your branch and or tag. So you push your data. If you want, say you've been working in master, you could at that point just tag it and then push your tag. Or you could, if you wanted to, from your master creator, from wherever you've been working, create a branch called final, and then go into final and push your final branch. And then, so then when you turn it in, right at the top, some of you like to write essays to me when you're turning it in. I like those essays and I appreciate them. I'm not unappreciative of the nice comments or interesting data that I get. But right at the top, tell me what branch or tag you're using and what folder, if by some chance they're not in a folder, especially if they're not in a folder called Congress Address and Congress Server and Congress Native. For instance, if somehow it ended up, the native one was in a folder called Expo Try or something like that, tell me, look in the Expo Try folder. Okay, because I don't want to have to go, oh, here's one called Congress Native, here's one called Congress Native 2, here's one called Congress Native 2 Try, here's one called Congress Native 2 Try Again. You know, sometimes I get very interesting folder names in the repositories, which is nice, and I appreciate all of that. Congress Native, I give up folder, all of the different, you know, ones that I sometimes get, but just say which folder you want me to look at. And then a link to your program running on a row. Yes?
Can you very briefly tell me which thing we worked on is actually Congress native, because I only have address and server in my
Same.
repository.
I
And
don't remember if we had.
is that the Expo thing?
At the Expo thing, yeah.
They told us to put in source and not,
Yeah.
not in.
Oh,
your
yeah, well, you might wanna move it over to your repository before, just do a, it's just,
Entire directory.
yeah, you can do that, then if you were in the source directory itself and say the thing was called Expo Try, just go move Expo Try into the other. It was partly because I was just going, you know, maybe you'll wanna start again once you've done it once, was why I said maybe in the source directory. You know, that, you know, you say, okay, now I got a feel for it, let me start again and do the one, rather than having your repository fill up with the Expo Try 1, Expo Try 2, and
Yeah,
so
sure,
on.
sure.
But it's, I'm not fussy about it. And look, if I can go and start something in Congress Address and it gets some data in it, and I go to a Roku and lo and behold, there's something running on a Roku, whatever it is. And if I went to the native folder and, you know, tried to load the native thing and at least something came up, you would have avoided disaster, right? Then you're okay. In other words, I'm not really expecting anyone or more than just a few people to get everything. But I'll just take what I can. Does that make sense? And then finally, one last thing about it. I'm not here to flunk anyone or to get you in some terrible situation. If the only thing that can go wrong is if somebody turns something in at 3 in the morning, I might take points off. You're not sleeping enough, okay? I would rather get it, you know, just turn it in. When you're tired, just turn it in and do it. I'm not expecting you to finish everything.
What's the deadline?
I think we're saying next Thursday, so a week from tomorrow.
So the last day after school.
I think that's when our, yeah, I think our exams would be next Wednesday. It's maybe our scheduled exam, or maybe it's next Thursday, but it's the end, right? And, you know, if it came in on Friday, I'd go, well, it's gonna cost them a point or two. If it came in on Saturday, I'd go, well, might cost them a few points here, they're getting it in on Saturday. Comes in on Sunday, I get a little irritated, I'm going, I gotta turn them in tomorrow, what do they expect me to do, I'm sick of grading. Comes in on Monday, then who knows what, all bets are off. But I just get it in, but it's definitely best to get it in on time. Okay, does it make sense what I'm saying? All right, let's look at, I have no idea what state my program is in, so. So I'm going, I went Control-Shift-T, or choose File, New Tab, and then there's no reason why you can't stay connected to your server if you want to be connected to your server in one tab. And if you don't like the arrangement of them, I think you can on Ubuntu, but not here, you can drag and drop. Okay.
Actually, you can go into tabs and move tab left and move tab right. If you go into tabs,
There it is. That's nice, thank you. Okay.
which
So I'm going into Congress Address now, and I had put one in that I called Go. Do you all have this in your,
What did you do?
what? Go, what?
all right. That's package.json I'm looking at.
For Congress address?
So no, we don't have to.
You don't have concurrently?
You start field testing there.
let's do this step by step. Okay. Let's see. All right. All right, well, it's not very hard to do, so we're just gonna do it, I guess.
There was a link at the very bottom. Is it- Do you wanna, very bottom? Are you? Are you even here for it?
No.
Okay. So, all right, so,
Theoretically, I should go to the website.
okay. So we need to npm install concurrently and do it with a -- save.
Say that again?
See?
So the command would be inside your Congress address folder, do npm install -- save concurrently.
Oh, Jeremy.
then and add these lines to the scripts section of package.json.
This is in which assignment? The final?
He's putting it in the final when he hasn't finished updating it yet.
All right. Let me get that pushed out there. So what concurrently does is it allows you to start more than one program at a time. So if you are needing to start two programs the way we need to start the server and our Congress address at the same time because they're going to talk to one another, then concurrently will allow you to do them both at the same time. So if we look here now at this updated copy of our package.json, the go command says use concurrently to run this command and this command. We're used to typing npm start, right? That's how we start Congress address. But we also want to have our server running. And this is how we can start our server. So we could write npm run server and it would start the server. Or you can type npm start and it would start the so concurrently is now that at least that much of it is in the final now. Now, if you're running either start or test, you can just write npm start or npm test. But if you want to run any of the other custom ones that you make up, then you type npm run go, npm run server. Do you see the difference? npm run build. So, So, now, obviously, I'm assuming that if you're in Congress address, you go back one directory and there's going to be a folder called Congress server. If yours is called FooBar, then this isn't gonna work. You'll either have to rename FooBar to Congress server or rename Congress server in here to FooBar, one or the other. So,
Oh,
so you can see it starting my server at any rate here. And then you can see it now popping up the client. And it's still in the waiting for local host mode, and who knows what status my program's in here. I press F12. And then it comes up after a while, right? You can still go back to the command prompt and see what's going on down here. Now I can go over to application. And it looks like I've got data in there. So I can iterate over it, get to the next address. If I go to clear storage, clear site data, I come back, everything gets wiped out. Just emptied everything. And then, in theory, okay, so this is good, I've got an error of some kind.
your button, refresh data, is that called out in the final? Is that, or is that a different assignment?
I think it's called out in the final. I think I say I wanna have a button that'll be called refresh.
Okay.
And we'll work on that a little bit today. It looks like I'm getting an authenticate error here, so I probably have a username and password issue going on, right? In terms of connecting to the server.
He shouldn't. Our instructor made it really easy. He gave us these fields to just fill in, and then it would all concatenate into one string.
I know, you would think, but you know what he does is he's so unreliable because he went out to the MLab and he got paranoid about having a username and password called foo and foobar, and I think he deleted it. Because who can explain, right? Now, so let's go here. And one of the things you might notice is that right now it doesn't look like I have a politicians in my data. You don't have this much data. You just probably have, 1 or 0 tables in your database. But we get 500 megabytes of data, and if you look, most of these are 8K, 9K, 10K. So you can certainly have a bunch of tables up there. Now, I don't have an option right now. It might be a nice one to add to the, to your program, would be like delete all the database and refresh it from the, from your JSON file. But I don't have those options here. But
You wanna do that in Matrix or in server? You can do it in server.
that's exactly right. Now, and so right now, if I go look, I can see that if I switched over to Congress server, Oh, yeah. And I can see it's running on port 30025. And we know we started my server, even if it is in a very unhappy state right now. So I should be able to open up another tab and go to localhost 30025, right?
That is, oh yeah.
And which is kind of where we were, I think. So you see, there's no reason why we can't have both of them open at the same time, right? Because they're running on different ports. One's on 3000, one's on 30025. So we can kind of use them together. And I could do that. If worst comes to worst, I can point it at your app, your server at my database, and then try the server interface and see if I can stuff something in the database. But it might be nice to have the insert valid button optionally extra credit or fun or what have you. Why don't we, it's a tentative extra credit.
Oh, I thought it was server. Yeah.
I was thinking that, you have it all in Congress Address. I think once you've got it running in one place to the other, it should be relatively trivial to move it from one place to the other. Once you've got the root working and doing it, you can probably put it in either interface. So one is kind of a admin's tool and the other is sort of the real front end. And so, all right, so let me work on this username and password issue. So as you recall, there's a user tab, and then I can add user, the unbreakable password. And then, my LastPass wants to add that in, and that's all right. Do without that. And then I come back here, and I look in Connect. Well, I called it poll and foobar, but I guess I could theoretically change it to foo and foobar, which is, I think, the name that I created that time. And then switch back to Congress Address. So I started the server with NodeMon, so it should have restarted. Doesn't really feel to me like it did. I think if I have questions, I'm just gonna press Control-C and stop everything, and then just start them again. The second time around, it opens up a little faster, hopefully. Yeah, there it is. And so I pressed insert valid data, and it comes back success, and then I press my get all button, and it shows me that there's data. So now if I come back over here to the React app,
I can also only shows like the first name and last name.
Yeah, it's interesting.
it looked like it went and got some data at any rate.
Yeah.
And then if I go to it looks like it did insert records in, right? So it refreshed my data. So I've got it working at least a little bit. And it actually seems to be letting me do it. So you see that kind of virtuous cycle there where I was able to, between the two tools. And now if we go back to MLab, I guess no, the MLab's over here maybe.
So we completely remove the address list JSON from that address.
I think at this point, you shouldn't need it anymore, right? Congress address should be running totally without it. It should be able to go to the database. But we do use address list from the server program because we want to grab it, just stuff it into the database. But we should also be able to run disconnected, just with local storage running. And, but now you can see, well, it must be there, right? Let me try a 5 refresh.